you all for coming today. Your Shauna Estes Taylor will probably echo. You're in for a treat. You'll be introduced to Shauna here in a little while. This is a day that when Stan Beecham shared that he was coming back to help the University of Arkansas recently ranked #1 golf team, and Shauna Estes Taylor, four-time All-American, and
Hall of Fame member.
And Hall of Fame member.
Yeah.
We said, well, we'll buy the rest of your time and we'll figure the rest of it out. And Robyn Van Zandt has decided to put her plank out with a business model called RSVP to Life. She's gone and gotten her coaching, and the people she worked with previously are here, right here, and we thought we should lift her up and make sure you all know what she's doing. Let her host today. She can tell us what she's doing, and you know, it's hard to start your own business, and anyone who kind of dives back in their 50s with the wisdom and the things they've been through, the adversity they've been through. She has a wonderful partner, Tommy, that has an incredible story that she's a big part of, and she's incredible. A lot of people say she's an angel, and I think she is. Please welcome our host for the day, Robyn Van Zandt.
Robyn Van Zandt, and my husband is Tommy. Some of you may know him through like community involvement or Sage Partners. He's a senior manager with Sage Partners, or maybe through his accident that he had back in 2009, and I'll briefly talk about that. But I am definitely just your warm-up act. Stan Beecham is the real thing, and I know that's why you're here to see him. But anyway, I just think they wanted me to just introduce myself real quick and my new life coaching business, RSVP to Life. I'll tell you how I came up with that name in a little bit too. But I'd like to turn it over to Jean so she can give a little spotlight on Multicraft.
Yeah, I'm Jeannie Carroll. I have the privilege of working with Stan and Priscilla at Elevate Performance. And this morning we want to give a shout out to Multicraft Contractors, who is our co-sponsor today for Dr. Beecham's visit, and so they're helping us to underwrite his time with us. I had the honor of visiting Multicraft in early December, and wow, I'm here to tell you that this is a company that hits on all cylinders. In fact, if I could borrow a definition of good to great from Jim Collins, this is definitely a great company. Their first generation leadership really set this company up to be a sustainable, successful company. And that's where they invested, was in Multicraft's success rather than their own success personally. When we toured out there, it was incredible. We saw walking through the buildings and the operations, we saw this great sense of self-effacing, humble style of leadership that came across as Scott led us through, and there was tremendous sense of pride and passion that was just palpable in the folks that we met as we walked through the many buildings in this very large campus now. We spoke to engaged teams of energized employees as they were working on solutions for their clients. They have integrated vertically and horizontally over the years. In fact, much of their growth came during the recession when a lot of people were just paralyzed by fear, which is pretty incredible. So, from fabrication to robotics, this is one remarkable company. And we'd like to show you a small video about Multicraft so you can learn a little bit what we learned.
Multicraft Contractors. We're a company of hundreds of professionally trained craftsmen with locations in Springdale, Arkansas and Springfield, Missouri, capable of handling almost any national or international project, from retrofitting to completely new facilities. Although we started out as a plumbing and heating company, our clients often needed more than just these services. Multicraft Contractors expanded over the years to meet the unique requirements of our diverse customer base. The Multicraft of today grew out of a commitment to customer service. As a result, Multicraft has become a large, multifaceted corporation, offering a broad spectrum of industrial and specialty contracting services. Here are a few. MCC Mechanical provides complete Division 15 mechanical contracting and is capable of solving the most complex process piping and welding challenges. MCC Airworks is our full-service heating, ventilation, air conditioning, and refrigeration division. Airworks also includes our in-house duct fabrication equipment with the capacity to produce customized rectangular and spiral duct of virtually any size. For custom fabrication, Multicraft has 80,000 square feet of well-equipped facilities with state-of-the-art equipment capable of cutting, rolling, forming, punching, bending, machining, and welding to produce your precision parts and assemblies. MCC Electrical provides complete Division 16 electrical contracting and also offers industrial and institutional installations up to 15 kilovolt. Multicraft Crane Service provides a fleet of cranes and rigging equipment to serve the needs of our customers. MCC Millwrights can handle unique installation and machine integrations to meet a customer's highest demands. Multicraft's team of licensed and certified professional engineers enable us to expertly plan and implement your project in the most efficient, effective way possible, saving you time and money. MCC delivers concept to completion with our broad array of services. One experienced field-tested contractor results in quicker response times, more controlled costs, superior quality, and overall better value. Multicraft Contractors invests in cutting-edge equipment and value-adding technology. We've built our reputation on tackling those jobs that are unique or particularly complex, projects that other contractors may shy away from. We routinely find innovative solutions to the most challenging problems. Multicraft Contractors is more than equipment, technology, and innovation. Most of all, we're a group of dedicated craftsmen who take pride in providing the highest level of service and performance. It was customer service that started Multicraft's growth back in 1972, and it's still all about customer service today. Contact Multicraft Contractors and let us bring decades of problem solving and innovation to your next project.
Actually, I was really glad to hear about the fact that you were able to take a time of challenge and look at it as challenge and be able to work through it and not become paralyzed by fear. And I think that's so much of what Stan's concepts are around. You know, I think one of the things you say, if you're walking through hell, keep on walking, you know, and a lot of times when we take those opportunities to just look at a challenge, look at hard things as a challenge and an opportunity versus something to hide from. So anyway, that I'm so glad you are here and an example of people who are willing to do that. So how many of you have actually heard Stan speak before?
The video.
Yeah, you've seen the video? Good. Has anybody read his book, Elite Minds? Good, good. I know we have Amy Sorrell here who actually used his book for planning, her 2015 planning. And I've heard many stories. I know Teresa Roth has used it with her son Tyler, who's a basketball player, to use your strategies to change his mindset. It's not about the physical, it's about the mental. So anyway, why am I here? I'm here to introduce my new coaching business, RSVP to Life. RSV comes from my initials, and I added P to life because it means respond to life, and that is my mindset, responding to life. I'll also be able to introduce Shauna Estes Taylor, who has a working relationship with Stan, so she'll be able to tell you a little bit more about the main act and hear a little bit. So I want to use one of my favorite concepts of Stan's, which is do the necessary, then do the possible, and then you'll find yourself doing the impossible. So here I am marketing my company, and specifically public speaking. Well, that is not my area of comfort, which is ironic because I got my bachelor's degree from the University of Texas. I know. No booing. That's been a while. I've been here for 15 years. I've been made, but now I enjoy calling the hogs. So, but I got my bachelor's degree in international business and marketing. So you would think, yeah, I'm all about getting up in front of people. I have energy. I'm a people person. But it's really what I do because it's necessary for you to get to know me and what I'm doing. It all started building a path to this place, from doing what is necessary and then what is possible. I did get my Master's of Education in Counseling from the University of North Texas, and I've been working for the past 12 years with Blair and Bruce Johansson, the Johansson Group, doing career consulting. And that's been a pleasure. But, and my life has been a source of fortunate breaks and teamwork to get to this point. But it was really the tragedy that I referred to earlier of my husband, who fell from a ladder and is now paralyzed from his neck down. And he's a quadriplegic, and he's ventilator dependent. So this was back in 2009, and you can imagine that was a pivotal point for our family and for me as an individual. And I began to say, what is my vision? What is my purpose? How am I going to go forward in this situation? So I began the process of getting board certified as a life coach. And I found that process transformational. And this is something that I want to offer to other people so that they can begin to see be able to do the impossible, opening up themselves to the impossible in their life. So for those of you who are not familiar with life coaching, I would like to give you a few examples. Sometimes people seek life coaching for particular situations. And I've been working with this woman, and in the midst of our working together, she came across a really big dilemma in her work environment. So through asking her very intentional questions, listening to her talk about the situation, she was able to come up with some new perspectives on this situation and able to come up with some different possibilities that led her to come up with a win-win solution for this situation. In other words, it took her from the back seat into the driver's seat when she was looking at this challenge. And not only did it help her with this particular situation, but it's helped her in all aspects of her life. And I've noticed energy increase and more of a excitement about life going forward, the adventure of life. I've also been working with a man who for the past 17 years has been working with the company. And he is a very hard worker, competent, and so he kept getting responsibilities, more and more responsibilities. But he came to me because he found that really he was feeling unfulfilled and really kind of stuck. So by helping him to articulate what are his needs, what are the values that are important to him, then we were able to create we were able to he was able to get more clarity, and a change in thinking became more life-affirming for him and more in line with what he needed in life. People also seek life coaching in periods of life transitions, such as the empty nest, or perhaps they're going through a divorce, or maybe they've gone through a death, or maybe they've just had a move, or maybe it's just a new stage of life. A woman came to me, she was just ready to reevaluate her life and to create a vision for the next stage of life. So through examination of what drains her of energy and what gives her energy, and also what activities and people bring value to her life, she's made some big changes and big decisions that are in line with the kind of life that she wants. Again, putting her in the driver's seat of her life. And that is giving her more meaning and more purpose for her life. So as you see, really the answers lie within each one of these people that I'm working with. It's my job just to help them to see new perspectives and new possibilities, and also to help them create ways to hold them accountable for moving forward to reach these goals. And you know what? The great thing about coaching is it's flexibility. So you can come to my office and we can meet face to face. I love that. I love having the visual and watching the energy and what's going on with you. But if you don't have that ability to do that, we can do a coaching session over the phone. We can plan to do it on your way to work, on your way home from work. We can do it during a break. We can do it even if you're not in your office, you're on your way out of town or you're out of town. So there's a lot of flexibility with it. So after listening Stan speaking, if you feel inspired and challenged to take a closer look at your life, use this opportunity to speak with me or another coach and who can guide you and hold you accountable for responding to your life. And I tell you that the gift and the adventure, let me say that again, the gift and the adventure of your life is so worth the money and the time that you invest in owning your life. So thank you for listening to the Warm-Up Act. And now I would like to ask Shauna Estes Taylor, the winning golf coach of our Ladies Razorback team, to come forward and introduce.
Thank you so much. Obviously, it's always a great pleasure to come and share my story of my relationship with Dr. Beecham. Last time I talked about, as an athlete, how he impacted my life. It was, when I was 18 years old at the University of Georgia, walked in and had a meeting with him, and I just became curious about how to go from good to great. And through that curiosity, we built this amazing relationship. Almost 20 years now. I was thinking about that on the way over here. I'm like, wow, I'm getting old. And through that, it's been awesome to have kind of a life coach, someone that has seen me grow up as a person, as an athlete, and now as a coach and a leader. And 12 years ago, I made the trek from South Carolina to Fayetteville, Arkansas, to become the women's golf coach here. And I was looking at statistics, and during that time before I got here, our golf team was ranked 70 to 100 in the country. And it was a culture of, kind of the idea of we don't want to be last. Let's not embarrass ourselves. Let's just be 11th instead of 12th. And that was something that I wasn't comfortable with, and something that I knew that I needed to make a shift in the mentality of, it's not about being a loser, it's how do we win? How do we create an environment that is conducive to that? And I knew that, a lot of it has to do with recruiting and going out and getting the right people in place to make that happen. But more importantly, it was about creating a culture that the young women that we brought into could be successful in. And for me as a coach, it's more about creating the journey and creating an environment where they feel loved. They are driven by work ethic, a positive environment, leading by example. I don't ask my team to do something that I'm not willing to get in the trenches and do with them as well. A perfect example is this morning we work out at 6 a.m. I'm at the gym with them because if I'm going to ask them to be there and do that, and we're going to try and win a national championship, I'm going to show that I'm willing to make that sacrifice with them. So I think that's really, really important. But how Stan relates to this journey that I've been on the last 12 years here in helping sort of retrain and build a winning culture for our women's golf team is just like you were just talking about. We all wake up every day with that to-do list of, I have a little sticky note on my desk, all these things that I need to check off before I leave the office. And I think, before I got to the University of Arkansas, they were doing the to-do list. And what they saw was a very below average result. And one of the things that Stan has challenged me to do and implement in my program is one of doing more than the to-do list. And when you do that, you start seeing things happen that you didn't think were possible. And it's been really cool to watch my team implement that. And our sort of motto for my golf team is do the possible. So every day I challenge them to come into our building, come to practice with obviously what I require, but do something more than what's on my sheet for our practice that day. And it's been awesome. And for the first time in 12 years, this fall, our team made it to #1 in the country. And if you would have asked me 12 years ago, was that possible? I'd have been like, we got a long road ahead, but it's been awesome to watch the girls really just embrace that idea. Winning is hard. Being #1 is hard. It's a lonely place. It's a hard place. You fight your whole life to get there, it feels like. And then when you finally do, you want to maintain and sustain over time. And that's the hard part. And it's been, yesterday at practice, I had this drill. We go out on the golf course. There's 15 different exercises that we do out there. And we come in and they do a great job. And every single one of them stays after and does more. And to do the things that we're capable of and that we want to do, and our goals and our dreams of winning a national championship, something that's never been done on the women's side at the University of Arkansas, is hard and it's difficult and it's challenging, and we all have our struggles. But by creating that environment of love and care and work ethic and doing more, we're starting to see some of those what we thought were impossible ideas of championships become a reality, and it's been awesome. And Stan has really helped me, embrace that concept, challenge me by it. So now I have one sticky note with my to-do list and a second one with the more, the things that I need to do extra to give to my team and to prepare them every single day to work towards doing those things that we once thought were impossible. So, Stan has been such a great mentor to me. As I read the book for the first time, Elite Minds, a while ago, I wrote the foreword in the book as well. And I was just so glad that he finally took the leap of faith to write this book and share with people what I've been learning since I was 18 years old. And it's very simple concept. Sports psychology and psychology, I think, is a pretty simple thing, but we don't apply it very often. And we don't really think about it as, we need help. I was just talking to Carlos earlier, and we were discussing, what does a sports psychologist do? And it's really about having all facets of your life in order to perform at the highest level. And that's really what Stan has helped me, keep at the forefront, and then has allowed me to instill it into my team. So he's just a really, we have few people in our life that we kind of let in and know a lot about us, and he's one of those people for me. And I'm so blessed that he's my friend. He's a mentor to me, and he's willing to, stand by my side when I didn't think things were possible, and give me ways to look at it differently. And I'm just so blessed by his challenges, and just excited that he gets another opportunity to share his wisdom with you guys. So without further ado, my buddy, Dr. Stan.
One of my favorite things to do is try to embarrass people. And Shauna is, she's not a person who wants a lot of attention, you know what I'm saying? She's very comfortable letting it be about other people, which is part of her success. But in my work, what I essentially try to do is try to study success and try to understand people who really truly become great or become the best at something. Like, how do they get there? Because those of us who haven't got there, we tend to think of the folks who have as being different than us, right? You follow what I'm saying? The folks that are the great ones, the champions, the people who are the best in the world at what they do, we see them as different than us. Are you aware of that? Therefore, that is our reason to keep ourselves out of it, right? So what I've noticed is there's a lot of people, in fact, most people are very comfortable with the concept of getting really good at something, right? Like, I bet every one of you have some aspect of what you do in your life where you say, I want to improve upon this, I want to be really good at this, right? Right? This is true for all of us. But how many of you right now in your life are trying to be the best at something? Very few. She is, okay? And she's no different than us.
Tyler, raise your hand.
Okay? But I want you to be aware of that. That most people are very comfortable with the concept of I want to improve, I want to get better, I want to be really good. But very, very, very few people are trying to be the best at what they do. And so then the question becomes is how do you give yourself permission to do it? Right? So I'm going to tell you one of the things I've learned from Shauna. And I'm going to try to do it without crying. Because it is very emotional. As you can imagine, one of the conversations that we have is that we talk about the kids on her team a lot and what's going on with them. And she knows them in a very intimate and deep way. And I do, not to the same degree, but we know these kids pretty well, okay? And we know the events of their life that shaped them, and we know what they do under stress and pressure, And every kid that she brings into the program, she sees their greatness way before they do, okay? So what I'm saying is that her opinion, how many kids do you have on the team now? 8. Her opinion of these 8 women is higher than it is of themselves. Do you see that? And the only way that you can get someone to the next level if you're working with them is you have to see that potential, okay? And one of the things that causes Shauna pain is that when she sees it and the kid doesn't. You see what I'm saying? And it's painful. It's painful to see someone have the ability and the potential to do something and not fulfill it because they don't think that they possess it. And you must be willing to sit with that. Because our tendency is that when we see that is we get frustrated and we push the person away, right? Out of our frustration, anger, we distance. It's very difficult to sit with that person and sit intimately with that person and say, I know you feel like you can't, or you don't believe that you can, but you can, okay? And you're starting to give up on yourself, but I'm not giving up on you, okay? And when you do that with a person, that becomes transformative. That when you have a higher opinion of the other than they do of themselves, that is how you take them to the next place. Do you understand that? It's a simple but yet difficult thing to do. And Shauna does this as well as anyone I've ever met. Okay? I don't use the word best a lot because I think it's just kind of, it sounds like a commercial. But I've worked with a lot of coaches and she's the best one. And the reason that she's the best is not because she knows a lot of stuff about the golf swing. The reason that she's the best is her capacity to care and become emotionally engaged with these women is higher than any coach I've ever worked with. Okay, if you can measure love, she's like off the chart, okay? And I can't say I totally understand that, but it's true. And I know that it's true because I see it over and over again. But that's why you're going to have the best team in the country. And they're in the process of doing it, right? I mean, in a short period of time, they've come a long way. Do you know how many national championships women's teams at the University of Arkansas have won? It's never happened. It's never happened. And it never will happen until you get a group of people or a group of women who believe that it can and will happen. And so that's what's going on. So it's pretty cool and it's pretty exciting. So thank you for letting me in there. So I've essentially made it my life journey to kind of understand why a small percentage of us function at our full potential and do these great, awesome, wonderful things, and the most of us don't. And that's it. And I stay curious about this, and this is what I think about. And this is what I wonder about, is why. All right, everybody turn your phones off. I turn mine off. I know you're important. It can wait an hour. I promise. How does this happen? If you don't remember anything that I said, hang on to the thing that I just threw out at you, which is, why is it that every one of us is comfortable with the concept of doing something well or doing something good, right? Or improving upon something. But very, very few of us really are comfortable with the concept of trying to be the best at something. Okay? And I want you to just stay curious about that and think about it. This is what I'm thinking about. Every now and then I'll get something in my head and I just sit with it, you know, and I just think about it. So 2 days ago I'm working with a golfer, and several years ago this guy was in the top 20 in the world, and now he's not. And I asked him this question. I said, when's the last time you won a tournament? He said, 2010. I said, when's the last time you went into a tournament with the expectation or the belief that you're the person who was going to win? He got quiet. Because the fact of the matter is he didn't know. Every one of you have two beliefs that are driving everything that happens in your life, okay? And when you understand these things, and this is what I'm going to spend the next couple of days is digging into it. Once you understand it and you can speak the truth about yourself to it, then everything changes, okay? What I'm saying is, if you want to be successful, the first thing that you have to do, and this is a non-negotiable, okay, is you have to develop the capacity to speak the truth about yourself to yourself. In other words, you can't keep BSing yourself and lying and deceiving yourself. It'll keep you from there. You have to have the capacity to speak the truth to yourself about yourself. What is true about me that I wish was not true? Okay? And you have to go there every day. So what I'm proposing to you is there's two beliefs, okay? Now, beliefs happen at an unconscious level, and thinking happens at a conscious level, okay? In other words, if you believe something, you hold it as true even when you're not thinking about it. You see what I'm saying? That's unconsciousness, okay? So belief is that which you hold as truth. So in other words, if I said, do you believe in God? Most of you, I'm guessing, would say yes. Some would say no. Then what I'm saying is that belief informs what you do even when you're not thinking about God, right? But you have these same beliefs about yourself, okay? So belief is held at an unconscious level, and the unconscious affects the conscious, what you think about, right? And vice versa. And then what you think about affects your unconscious. So they both, it's a membrane that you can penetrate. Unconsciousness affects consciousness. Consciousness affects unconsciousness. Have I lost anybody yet? Okay. So when I talk about beliefs, I'm talking about these unconscious things that you hold as true, and you carry it around with you, and it affects everything that you do. Okay? So the first belief is one that you have about yourself, okay? And there's only two beliefs that you can have about yourself. And this is where I'm going to start getting some of y'all angry, okay? Because I'm going to say something and you're not going to like it, because what I'm getting ready to tell you is what I believe, and what I believe is not the same thing as you believe, okay? So the part of you that wants to get up and walk out, just sit with that. Don't walk out quite yet, okay? Just give it a minute. Just let it, just percolate in it. Just marinate in this for a little bit, okay? Even though it's going to be a little spicy. Most people have the belief that they are not good enough, okay? I'm not good enough. I'm not there yet. I don't have everything that I need to be full and complete. And here's the language of the not good enough. Y'all ready? This is the part that's going to make you mad. I need to get better. I got to improve. I'm not quite there yet. Okay? Keep in mind, we're a culture that we lift up this concept of you have to always be wanting to get better. Coaches go, let's get better today. And all I'm saying is, if I'm enough now, then why do I need to be better? Because see, here's the deal. Today's game day. You have to play with what you have. So if your belief is that I'm not enough, then you can't do it today. You're waiting for tomorrow or the next day. The problem is the people who hold the belief that I need to get better, at what point do you become better enough to be good enough? And the answer is they never get there. You follow me? It's kind of like with money. People who are saying when I have more money than this, what they find out is that number just keeps getting bigger and bigger and you never get there, right? So now we live in a culture where we have twice as much money as we did 50 years ago. Our houses are 3 times bigger. okay? We have a $22 billion storage business. We have so much stuff it doesn't fit into our house, so we have to go rent a storage space and put it, right? And yet we're more anxious, more depressed, more obese, more addicted than we've ever been. So we believe the lie, and the lie's not working. I'm not good enough, so what do you imagine is the other belief about self? I am good enough. Okay? And what happens is most people think that their opinion of their self determines this. And what I'm saying is you do not determine your self-worth and your value. Even though you have an opinion of it, you don't get to do that. Now let me explain to you how this works. Let's say, for example, I have an opinion of Shauna, okay? And let's say my opinion of Shauna is not very good. And so I'm talking with Tim, and I'm really being pretty critical of her, okay? You with me? Like, I'm really letting her have it. And then Tim says to me, he says, Stan, you know, it's really not your place to stand in judgment and criticize her, okay? There's really no benefit of that, and that doesn't serve you or her to stand in judgment of her and be critical of her. Now, if I'm a reasonable person, I would probably hear that, right? I mean, this is in every major religion and philosophy, which is basically don't stand in judgment of another person, right? Okay. So I go, yeah, Tim, you're right. And then I turn around and do that to myself, okay? Now, can you understand the reason why it would be good for me to not stand in judgment of her? Can you think of any reasons why I should not stand in judgment of her? Anyone? Help me out here. Why is it not a good idea for me to be in judgment and be critical of her? This is not a trick question.
You really don't know her?
Yeah, I don't know her. There's, okay, I don't know any conscious belief. But why should I not be in judgment of another person? Huh? So then they'll stand back in judgment of me. So then it creates this cycle, right? But it's a destructive cycle, right? No one benefits. Me being critical of her, that doesn't help her, right? Right? It doesn't make me better. It doesn't change anything, right? But the other part is there's a piece of the truth that I'm missing, right? We tend to think of people as good and bad, right? But that's not really the truth, right? I mean, don't we all kind of have a little bit of both in us, right? So I may come to the conclusion that, yeah, I shouldn't, be critical and stand in judgment of other person, but then I would turn around and do that to myself. And then if I said, why are you doing that to yourself? Then you would give me something like, well, this is me. I can treat me however I want to, right? I agree I shouldn't do that with her, but I can do it to me. And what I'm saying is you shouldn't do it to you for the same reason that you wouldn't do it to another. There's no benefit to it. It's hurtful. It's destructive. You see what I'm saying? What comes of it? Nothing. So don't participate in an activity that there's no benefit to you or the other person. When you stand in judgment of yourself and when you hold yourself down, not only do you harm yourself, but you harm everyone who comes into contact with you. The best reason to get okay with you is that everyone who comes into contact with you would benefit from that. You see what I'm saying? Whatever the opinion is you have about yourself, if I believe that I'm not good enough, then everybody, it's just like having the flu. Everybody that I come into contact is affected by that. But if I believe that I'm enough and I'm okay, and I have the potential to do what I need to do, then everyone I come into contact is affected by that. It's contagious, right? And we know this. Belief systems are contagious in the same way that the flu is contagious. The problem is that at a very young age, you adopt a belief system. You see that? So for you IT guys, the software was downloaded into your hardware at a young age, and so if the software that you got downloaded has some viruses and some problems with it, you're stuck with that. And what I'm saying is most people in their belief about themselves and what they're capable of doing, they have some aspect of it that limits it's simply not true, and so they carried it around with them. And this is why most people are comfortable doing something well, but very uncomfortable at being the best at it. Because what you're saying is I don't have that potential in me. Interesting enough, when you talk to the people who get to the best, their message is, well, if I did it, you could too, right? You see what I'm saying? The people who get up there, they can't understand why the rest of us aren't there. Because they really do believe you can do the same thing that I did, right? Now this is biblical, so we'll go Sunday school for a second. This is the sermon that I want to have. I want to see a preacher have the courage to preach on. When I was a kid, my dad was a Methodist minister. Then he became a psychiatrist. So that explains what's wrong with me, right? So in John, I think it's John 14, there's an interesting conversation. Jesus is talking to the disciples, about the things that he's done. And here's what he says. If you believe, I'm paraphrasing, okay, I'm sorry, I'm not a biblical thought scholar, but I get the message. If you believe, you can not only do the things that I've done, but you can do greater things than I have done. And that scares the hell out of us. Because you're scared of your own greatness. You see what I'm saying? The fact of the matter is every one of you here have the capacity to perform miracles, and we can get into that later on, but I'm telling you do, and it scares the hell out of you. That's it. And what I mean by miracles, I mean is the capacity to engage another person in such a way that it's transformative, that after the interaction they are different. And I'm going to talk to you later on about how that's true from a science standpoint. Not me trying to blow sunshine up your skirt, okay? But I'm talking about from a science standpoint, that's a reality, okay? So two sets of beliefs. The first about self, I'm good enough or I'm not good enough, okay? Most of you have the belief that I'm not good enough. I need to adjust something first. I'm not complete, I'm not okay. And all I'm saying is I understand you get to choose that. You're wrong, okay? I wish you weren't wrong, but if your belief is I need to get better, I'm not there yet, you're wrong because you fail to understand the potential that is in you that has nothing to do with you. Okay? This is the part you missed. The potential that you have, this thing called being a human being, a human potential, has nothing to do with you or your opinion of you or anything else, okay? That was born into you. You did not pick your DNA, okay? You follow me? The fact that your cells can divide and split and multiply, and then they die and rebirth, and every 7 years you have a whole new body, you don't do that. That happens to you, whether you like it or not. That is not about you or your opinion of you or anything. That's just the fact of the matter. And you just fail to understand what you're capable of doing, right? Your potential has nothing to do with your opinion of you or what you think or believe. Do you understand that? That's a real physical thing. That energy was there before you got here, and when you're dead, it will still be there, okay? And you can accept it or not, but the science is clear and we know this is the case, okay? And we all have that potentiality in us. Genetically, you're 60% the same as a banana. Did you know that? Did you know that? Yeah. You're 99% the same as a chimpanzee, okay? This has nothing to do with your opinion or what you believe about yourself. Your best step forward is just to say, I don't really know who I am and what I'm capable of. You're much better off starting there than starting out, I know who I am and I'm what I'm capable of. What I'm saying is, if you got it wrong, then you're stuck, right? Just sit with the thought of what if you're capable of doing something or function at a level that you don't think that you could actually do? What if you've been wrong all along about you? Now where do you go from here? And this, what I'm saying is, this is what I see over and over and over again, is that people have a belief about themselves that is not accurate. And being good enough has nothing to do with thinking I'm better than somebody else. It's just understanding the concept of creation and how you got here. You did not make you. Anybody have trouble with that? What I'm saying is you didn't make you. You didn't design and make you, okay? So your opinion doesn't have a real high value. That which designed and made you determines what you're capable of. Does that make sense? And this has nothing to do with a particular religion. This has a lot to do, it does, but it really has to do with science as well. Okay? So the second belief is about the future. And as you might guess, I'm a simple man, so I like to make everything 1, 2, or 3. There's essentially 2 beliefs that you have about the future, and what would you guess they would be? Huh? It's good or bad. And so, but specifically, how do we think that? When you think about the future, when you're talking about the future, how does it sound in your head?
Better or worse?
Be more specific. Give me a whole sentence. When you think about your future, when you're thinking in your head, what does it sound like? Give me the word. Huh? I'm looking forward to it. Or I'm dreading it. Thank you. Right? So when you think about the future, you think it's, and the it is the future, right? It's going to be okay. It's going to work out, right? This is a belief. Whatever it is, it's going to work out. It's going to be okay. Or it's what? It's not going to be okay. Do you see this? Can you apply this immediately to your life? Just take the next thing that's going to happen, okay? Before every event happens, you begin to think about it, do you not? You can't help but do this. If we were going to take a trip and we're going to a place that you've never been before, does your mind automatically begin to think about the place and what's going on? Yes, it does. You can't help but do this. This is your human nature. We anticipate events if we know they're going to happen. And we begin to color it and think about it. And we all do this. So given the fact that you're going to think about the next thing, what are you thinking? You're thinking it's going to be okay or it's not. Or you might even think it's going to be incredible and awesome. Okay? This is expectation. You have expectations. What is an expectation? It's a thought, conscious level, about the future. That's it. If you are a kindergarten teacher, you with me? You got it? Your job right now, you're a kindergarten teacher, and one of your kids comes up to you and says, Miss So-and-so, Mr. So-and-so, what's a future? How would you answer the question? What's a future? Can you tell me what a future is? How would you answer it? A future, or the future is it's a time that hasn't happened yet. This side, come on. What would you say the future is? What would be your definition?
It's what's going to happen next.
It's what's going to happen next. Okay, anyone else? But be more specific. What is the future? Is it a thing? Can you show me a future? So it's not a thing, it's not a noun. So what is it? So when your mind does future, what is your mind doing? Be specific. It's a thought. Do you understand this? That when you do future, it's simply a thought. And where does the thought come from? From you. You create it. You create a future by a thought. Your future is a thought that you created. That's it. And doesn't that make you angry as hell? Do you understand this? Look, I'm not like making this up. If you disagree, speak up, right? Have we got this wrong? Is that not what the future is? Is a thought that you have about something yet to come. But you create that thought. You make it. The whole thing. So where does thoughts come from? Where does consciousness come from? Unconsciousness. It comes from your belief system, right? So if I believe it's not going to be okay, then when I think about the future, what do you think I would create? A not okay, right? Does this make sense? This is very simple. This is how it works, guys. I am very reluctant to tell people how to do it. I don't like how-to-do books. I don't like recipe books. I cook a lot, but I read recipe books to get ideas. I never cook from a recipe book, and I think it's a shame that you do that because you lose your chance to create something that's never been created before. Okay? There's dishes that I've made 100 times, and I've never made it the same way. I've given a lot of talks. I never give the same one. It just the thought of that bores and scares me to death. Why would you do that? You follow me? What is the future? creates the thought? Who creates the thought? I do. You do. Where does the thought come from? The unconscious mind. You see how this works? This is true for everyone. If you're the best in the world at something, okay, the process of creating future is the same as if you're, wanting to commit suicide, okay, or you believe that you're stuck. The process is exactly the same between great people who are the best in the world at what they do and the rest of us, the average person walking the street. The process is exactly, we all do future the same way. You create it. And then when someone like me suggests that, then here's what happens. I heard what you said and I was listening to it, but I have to disagree. You just don't understand my situation. I go, well, explain to me your situation. Okay? And then you go, well, my life was going great, then my husband got this injury, da-da-da. And if you lived in my shoes, you wouldn't say those things because it's not true for all of us. Some people have a different circumstance than others. So you really need to rethink that. I was really offended by the fact that you suggest that I have control over my life or what I think. You just don't know my situation. Right? This is what people say. Now think about what's going on. I say to you, you have control over your life and what you think about, and you get mad at me for doing that and say, how dare you suggest to me that I could be in control of my life? And get mad. Isn't this interesting? This is what goes on. And it goes on with your friends too, right? You got a friend and they're really struggling and you kind of suggested a kind of a way out and they get mad at you because you don't really understand my situation, right? Okay? Be aware of the difference between the word pity and compassion. And please don't mix those two up, okay? Don't have pity on me. Don't feel sorry for me. I'm not going to have pity on you. Because once I have pity on you and feel sorry for you, then what happens?
You validated there. Becoming an enabler,
Yeah, as you become an enabler, I'll let you off the hook. Once I have pity on you, I say you have no control or power of your life.
Reinforcing their beliefs.
Thank you. But what about compassion? Compassion is not about feeling sorry for you. Compassion is about understanding that we're all in this soup together, okay? We're all having a similar experience to some degree. Most of our experience is exactly the same. And from time to time, life sneaks up behind you and knocks the shit out of you, knocks you down, steps on your throat, tries to kill you, right? It hurts. And so we should have compassion for each other because your turn's coming. You've probably all had a turn, you're old enough to have a turn, and you'll have another turn, and everybody you know will. And when that happens, we give them compassion. That's all. But don't pity folks. But what I'm saying is once a person starts pitying themselves, poor me, they want you to join in with that. Don't do it. You're not doing them a service. Because what you're saying is, yeah, you're not good enough and it's not going to be okay, and I agree with you, right? But I want you to be really honest with yourself. Remember I said if you want to be successful, the first thing you have to do is get really good at telling yourself the truth about yourself. Tell yourself the truth about where you are in these things. That's it, okay? But here's what happened. You go, well, now tell me how to change it. Okay, Stan, so you come up to me after and you go, okay, I thought about it. Okay, honestly, I think I need to be better, so I don't think I'm good enough yet. And I do think a lot of things aren't going to work out because I've had some difficult things happen. So I admit, I don't think I'm good enough. It's not going to be okay. Tell me how to change it, right? Right? And I go, you are. You're doing everything. What do you mean? No, I want the next steps. That's what you say. Well, give me the next steps. There is no next steps. You're either speaking the truth to yourself or you're not. But once you go from lying to yourself to speaking the truth to yourself, everything changes. Do you see that? Everything changes. There's nothing more powerful in the process of change, of going from an untruth to a truth. That is the most powerful thing you can do in transforming or changing your life. Just speak the truth to yourself. If you're an afraid person and you don't want to be afraid anymore, the best way to change that is to say, I'm afraid. I'm afraid a lot. Now, we don't say afraid, we say anxious, stressed, and worried, right? Because especially guys, we don't want to say we're afraid, but you'll talk about how stressed you've been. It's fear, guys. It's just another flavor and way of dressing it up, okay? Fear shows up a lot of different ways. Anxiety, stress, worry, it's all fear, okay? So when you find yourself in that place, what I do to myself when I find myself in that, I say to myself, what are you afraid of, Stan? And I make myself answer the question. That's it. What are you afraid of? No, I'm not afraid. What are you afraid of? And just tell yourself what you're afraid of. That's how you change it. Yeah, but what's the next step? Repeat step 1. Tell yourself the truth about yourself, and then tell yourself the truth about yourself. And then step 3 is tell yourself the truth. And what do you think step 4 is? Keep telling yourself. That's it. That's how you change it. You just speak the truth about it. But I know you want something more fancy, and I'm sorry, I don't have it for you. You have to go, that's another talk, that's somebody else's book. But we want to know, okay, now give me the steps to it. No, there's just, you're either speaking the truth or you're deceiving yourself. That's it. Get really good at knowing what you're doing. Right? You guys familiar with the 12-step program? Right? So when I started off working in clinical, my brother here worked at Chart Blair. He worked at Chart, you know, they were I worked, when I came along, Charter was real big. They had psych and substance abuse treatment stuff, and they had these great commercials. If you don't get help at Charter, get help somewhere. And I said that to him, and he kind of laughed. But they had this really compelling advertisement. But so what's interesting is, let's take alcoholism, for example. 75% of people who recover from alcoholism don't get any treatment. Only 25% do. Okay. And there's a lot of beliefs about why you're an alcoholic, right? It's a disease, and we got these really smart people, much smarter than me, who write long papers, and they have very compelling, and it's just like religion. You pick the one you want to believe, okay? But in the 12-step model, there's 12 steps. And there's a first step, and what is the first step? Can anybody tell me? Not that any of you guys know anything about alcoholism, but you have a friend who told you about this, okay? None of you would have ever sat in a 12-step program. I used to have to, because when I worked in the hospital, I had to take all the teenagers down, and so I've sat through a lot of them. And it's very educational, and entertaining, both. But what's step 1? Anyone?
Admitting you have a problem.
Admitting that you have a problem. Is there another piece to step 1? And that you don't have the ability to fix it yourself, that you're powerless, right? So step 1 is I have a problem and I've been unable to fix it myself, which is another way of saying, and I need some help. That's it, okay? Now what's interesting is what percentage of people get past step 1? What percentage of people who have a drinking problem admit to themselves they have a drinking problem, they can't fix it? All of them? No, most of them don't. Most of the people don't tell themselves the truth about themselves. But once you get past step 1 and you say the truth to yourself, then everything else changes. Like if you get past step 1, like would you agree with this? You got a pretty good chance. Like if you say, man, I drink too much, I've destroyed a lot of things in my life, I've really created a problem, I don't have the capacity to fix this. If I don't get some help, I'm going to kill myself. If you come to that truth, you got a pretty good chance of success. And the 75% of people who do it on their own, that's basically what happens, is they go, okay, I admit I drink too much, I have a problem, and I need to cut back. And they do. Why? Because they told themselves the truth. That's it. There is transformative power in speaking the truth. Do you understand that? And that applies to you. When you speak the truth to yourself about yourself, it has transformative power in it. Just like there's tremendous destructive power in speaking the lie, right? You know what I'm saying? Like people have told you lies about who you are and what you're capable of, and because you accept those as truth, it limits you. And you're not a bad person. okay? But we all do this, okay? Our belief system we were programmed with. When you were young, you were told that you were cute or not, that you were smart or not, that you were pretty or not, that you were whatever enough or not, okay? By people who really cared about you, a lot of times, sometimes not, and you believed them. My mom wouldn't lie to me, my teacher wouldn't lie to me, my dad wouldn't lie to me, my grandmother wouldn't lie to me. But what they're telling you is what they believe about themselves. You see that? When you're indoctrinating a child, whoever's doing the indoctrination, all they're doing is taking their belief system and injecting it into you. Does that make sense? Right? So this is why most of us have the belief systems of our parents, whether it's politics or religion or what we, are people fundamentally good or bad. Somebody taught you that and you accepted it as truth. Makes sense. How else would you know? Right? So when they tell you there's Santa Claus, you believe them. And when they say there's Easter money, you believe them. And when they say that you can't do something, you believe them. Why would you not? These are the people that fed you, that took care of you, that kept you alive. Why would they lie to you? Well, they don't lie to you. They just don't know the truth. If I don't know the truth about me, see, this is why you need to get your stuff together. Because if you get your stuff together, then you can help other people get theirs together. But if you don't fundamentally know who you are and what you're capable of, how in the hell do you do that with anyone else? You can't. Even if you want to. The best reason for you to uncover what you're capable of doing is the benefit that you will be to other people. It's a multiplier effect. Because whatever it is that you believe, you're going to put it out there like pollen, right? Whatever it is that you believe and hold as truth about yourself, you're going to cast that out there and it's going to hit everybody around you. And if this is your belief, I'm not good enough, that's what you're throwing out there. And you guys aren't either, okay? You know why I don't think that you're good enough? Because I don't think that I'm good enough. Do you know why I don't think you can do it? Because I don't think I can do it. That's all that's going on. Do you see that? So the question is, the people that raised you and indoctrinated you, were they truly living their dreams? Were they really living to their full potential? It's a yes or a no question. Were they or not? And the answer for most of us is no. So they can't give us something that they don't have, right? You can't. Just like if I don't know trigonometry, I can't teach it to you. I have to know it first. If I don't understand something and how the mind works and how beliefs, then I can't teach it to you. So that's all that's going on. So your job now is you got to go back and look at all that stuff and say, okay, what's the stuff that I hold as true that's not true? What you have to do is go back and examine your own belief system. That's your job when you leave here today. I'll tell you how to do it. It's very simple. Some of you guys have paper and pencil. You just start writing down what you believe about yourself and the world. Just begin to make a list. That's it. Try to uncover every belief that you have about yourself or the world in which you live, okay? Write it down. And you need to do this for like a week. You need to keep the thing, like I got an iPhone, I go to notes, right? Boom, 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 boom. And I just write down the belief, okay? You with me? You just make a list of it. You with me? This is how I know, because y'all want, how do you do it? You just write it down. You just say it. Now you can't think it, okay? It's really important that when you have a belief that you not just think it, you either say it out loud or you write it down. Write it down would be better. But that you put it out there, that you kind of take it out of you and you set it over here so you can look at it. You with me? Because the problem is your belief's been living inside of you, and it's hard to examine something that's inside. It's kind of like you can't see your face, can you? I mean, with a mirror. But like right now, you can't see your face, right? Well, your belief system is the same way. You have to take it out so you can see it. And what happens is when you begin to write this, and now that you're looking at it, you're going to be going, oh my God, really? I mean, it'll become apparent to you like, that's crazy. No, you will. I mean, if you're being honest, you're going like, really? I've been carrying this. Yeah, wow. So the beliefs that you have, they're either true or not true. Did you hear that? A belief is true or not true. So how will I know if something is true? How do you know that something is true? So if I said, y'all, it's daytime, okay? How would I know that it's daytime? How would you, if you wanted to examine that, how would you do that? This is not a trick question. You would look outside and there would be sunlight, and you'd say, yes, when it's daytime, it's sunlight, and then when it's nighttime, the sun goes down, and there is none. What if I said, y'all, it's the winter? How would you assess whether or not that's the case? What would you do? You would look outside and you would look at the trees. I see that tree over there, and most of the leaves are gone, and the ones that are on it are dead, and you'd go, okay, there is evidence for the truth. Is that true? The way I know something is true is there's evidence for it. So if I believe something that's not true, there's no evidence. So if you say, I don't believe I'm good enough, then what is the evidence that you're not good enough? And what most people come back with is their evidence is simply their own opinion. That's their evidence. It's very subjective. Well, I'm not good enough because I don't think that I'm good enough. Really, that's what we're going on. That's all you got? Right? You're taking something this critical, and that's all the evidence that you have that you're not good enough or that it's not going to be okay? So you start looking for the evidence. So I'll give you an example of how I use this in my work. So I'm working with this golfer, and she's been on the tour. This will be her 5th year on tour. And she hadn't broken into the top 60. In fact, she's been kind of 60-something for 4 years. But Shauna knows her, but when she was in college, she was quite good. In fact, she was the NC2A individual champion. Okay. Is it fair to say in amateur golf that Division I college women's golf is pretty much the most difficult? It's the highest level of amateur golf. Okay. So as an amateur, as a 19-year-old, she wins the whole thing, as did Stacy Lewis the next year or the year before? The year before, who's the #1 player in the world. She takes turns with others being #1 player. So this woman I'm working with, her belief is that I'm not good enough to win. Guess what I believe about her? I believe she is good enough to win. So what I'm suggesting to her is that there's evidence. And she looks at me like I have 3 heads. And I go, we're working for due days. I said, when you come back tomorrow, she's got her notebook. And I said, I want you to write down all the evidence that you can come up with of why you're good enough to win at the highest level. Again, she gives me this look. I said, don't look at me like that. Just write down the evidence and come back. So she comes back the next day, and she has the evidence. She was like one of the top juniors in all of Europe. She won something as a junior in Europe. She got a full scholarship to come over here to one of the best schools. She was a 3-time All-American. She was an NC2A champ. She won a tournament last year in Europe, shot 17 under in 4 rounds. Okay, you with me? She was the first woman from her country to play on the LPGA. Can you imagine being the first American woman and the first American man to do something? Would that not be evidence for you? Like I'd be going, man, I was the first one. Like, you know, if I'm the first guy on Mars, I'll be like, y'all, I was the first one on Mars. That's some stuff. So there's all this evidence. There's evidence. Write it down. And so she looks at it, and I go, is that compelling to you? Well, I said, that's very compelling to me. I said, I've never been the first person in my country to do something. I've never won a national championship. Any of you guys won one? I'm thinking like if I was like the best in the country at something particular year, I'm thinking like I'm going to hang on to that, right? But this is what great people do. They remember the evidence of all the great things that they've done, and they seem to forget the things that didn't go so well. Whereas the rest of us, you know what we do? We do just the opposite. So when you do something great in your mind, well, that was just kind of an accident, and you set that aside, and then you hang on to the time when you embarrassed yourself in public, and you recycle that, right? So if the future is a thought that you create, what is the past? Now think about this. You're talking to the kindergartens again. They go, teacher, what's a past? What's your definition? What is the past?
What do you think about?
It's another thought. Like there's the actual thing that happened, right? But when you go back to that fish that you caught when you were 7 years old, that was that big, remember that? That now is this big, okay? All you're doing is have a thought about something that didn't happen. So you can have a thought about something that did happen, and you can have a thought about something that is yet to happen. It doesn't matter to the mind. The mind doesn't differentiate. It's just still a thought. But we think the past is like this real thing, you know, and the future is, woo. No, it's not. It's just, in your mind, it's exactly the same thing. The past thought is based upon something that happened, but it's also affected by belief, right? So you have these people now, and they're doing research on memory, right? Have you read any of this stuff, right? And so when people share a memory, right? And what are the researchers finding out about our memories, and when we tell them in the future tense, in the present tense? Are we really accurate or not so accurate? Not so good. How does this happen? Because it's a combination of what actually happened and what you believe together, and that's your thought of the past. That's how it works. All of us. Do you understand that my brain and your brain functions basically the same way? Just like the engine in your car and the engine in my car, kind of how it works is kind of the same thing. Yours probably faster than mine, okay? Because I got this little Nissan rental car that sounds like a sewing machine, okay? Top speed's 30. It's like a Flintstones car. I'm doing my feet like this, you know? You get going. But yeah, I mean, this is how it works. The past is a thought that you create in the now. That's how you do past. You do past in the now, right?
Yeah.
And you do future in the now. The past and the future are a thought that you create right now. That's it. Understand that. So do I get to pick what I want to think about when I do a future? Yes. And when I think about the past, can I pick from a whole list of things that happened to me? Yes, I do. I get to pick. So given the fact that I get to pick, what are you going to pick? Right? So with golfers, what you do is you find out when they're struggling, they think a lot about bad shots, right? And when you're playing really good, you remember the great shots. But every golfer, if you played enough, you've got both, right? But I'll say to them sometimes, you know, they hit a bad shot, and I go, I can tell you how to fix that so that you never hit another bad shot again. Really? Yeah. I said, you got to quit. If you don't ever want to hit another bad shot, just quit. That's how you do it. Guaranteed to work. So what are you going to remember? If all you did moving forward is master this, I promise you your life is significantly different. I promise you. Or I'll give you your 25 cents back. If this is all you did, if you went from not good enough to good enough, which is the next book, the book I'm working on right now, and your future went from I'm not sure it's going to be okay to okay, everything changes. And you go, no, I want something a little fancier than that. I went to college. I'm a business person. I can't bring this out. You gotta, you know, it's gotta, you know, and you just wrote it with a marker on a piece of paper. You know, like, can't this like be engraved in something if this is? Do you want it to be more difficult? I mean, really, honestly, don't you kind of? Right? Don't you want to be like, okay, what's on the next page? That's what's on the next page. But don't you want it to be a little more fancier than that? Than the belief that I believe that I'm good enough or I'm not? What I'm saying is people who are the best in the world, who are great, they believe that they're good enough. But they don't think that they're better than you. They just think they have everything that they need. You see what I'm saying? You don't think you have everything you need. That's the competitive advantage. They're like, everything I need, I got it. My brother was out in Phoenix a couple weeks ago. We went to high school with a guy named Tony Phillips. Anybody Major League Baseball junkies? Tony Phillips played for a number of teams for a number of years, had a long career. And so my brother's out there doing some work, and Tony said, come stay with me. So we were back, and he goes, you know, Tony's got all these ideas, all this stuff he wants to do, and it's really interesting. And he said, you know, it's just really interesting to me how he talks to himself. Like just what he believes about himself. And I said, well, give me an example. And he said, well, one of the things that he said, he was out there for like 3 or 4 days. He said, one of the things Tony kept saying over and over again is, he said, Steve, he goes, I don't know why it is, but things just always work out for me. Now think about if you believe that. I don't know why it is, but things just always seem to work out for me. They just do. I can't tell you why, but the evidence suggests to me it just works out for me, okay? This is what he believes. It just works out for me. I don't know why it is, but things seem to be harder for me. I just can't get a break, you know? Life's just not fair. I don't know why it is. Maybe it's something I did in a past life. Maybe it's a karma thing. I don't know. I read a little Buddhism, Hindu. Maybe there's a karma thing. Maybe I wiped out a whole village or something in a previous life, and so now I'm being punished for it, you know? Or when I was young, I ran into somebody in my car and killed them or done it, and so now I'm being punished for it. Believe that's not okay. So think about when I say to myself, what you say to yourself, right? And people say this, I said to myself. Well, when you say to yourself, what do you say to yourself? When you think about you in the future, what specifically is the thought? Put it out there where you can look at it. That's it.
In fact, can you talk further before you end on the number of positive thoughts you have with yourself and negative thoughts?
Oh, you remember that, right? You like that? Yeah, so basically what happens is that you have a thought which you create, okay? And it falls into these categories, I'm good enough or not enough. And so what we know now from doing the research is that you can actually measure these, right? Right? Because these are events that happen in life. And so you can take every thought that you have about yourself or your life or what's going to happen to you and basically view it as a positive or a negative, right? So I can as a positive, I can as a negative. You with me? And so you can measure these things. And so you can also measure it with like coaches or parents or people in the workplace, what they say, right? So what I say to coaches when I speak to them or business leaders is what do you do for a living? And then they start talking about, I said, no. What do you actually do? And the answer is you talk to people, right? This is what you do. What Shauna does for a living is she talks to her players and she communicates stuff to them and to the coach. But most of what she does all day long is has conversations, oral or written, right? Now she'll sit at her desk and like do some planning and some paperwork kind of stuff. But for the most part, that's what she does. So the difference between a really good coach and a not so good coach are the conversations that they have. Are you aware of that? The difference between a really good leader and not so good leader are the conversations that they have with people. In other words, what they say to them. The difference between a person who's achieving greatness and a person who is struggling is the what? The conversations that they have with themselves. That's it, guys. There's no magic here. Once you understand this and get it, then you'll start paying attention to what I said to myself. That's the change that you're looking for. I'm sorry it's not fancier for you. I really am, okay? We could do a 16-week program and we could charge a lot of money, but it's a waste of time and money. That's the deal. You're just changing the conversation. And when you change the conversation with yourself, then what happens is the conversations that you have with other people change. If Shauna believes that she's good enough and it's going to be okay, do you see how that would affect the conversations that you would have with her athletes? Does that make sense to you? If you're a parent, if you're somebody's mom or dad, and you believe that you're good enough and it's going to be okay, can you see how that would affect the conversations that you would have with your child? Yeah, it's a no-brainer, right? I mean, this is not hard, tricky stuff. So that's the deal. So what you find is that most people, there's kind of a balance, right? I'm stupid, I'm an idiot. No, I'm okay, I'm smart enough. And so you can measure these things, okay? So what we notice, and this is when I said earlier about your capacity to perform miracles, and I know some of y'all checked out on that, because I saw your eyes roll up. Like, oh gosh, this guy really has forgotten to take his medicine this morning. It's like, dude, don't break the capsule in half. You need to take the whole thing, because you're losing it. Because I said to you that you have the capacity to perform miracles, and I'm going to show you how it is. And this is scientific. This is not like some jazz I made up. So what happens is when you speak to a person, okay, they hear what you say. The way the brain works is there's neurotransmitters between the cells, right? This is science. This is not something I made up. And those neurotransmitters are when you take drugs for depression, anxiety, schizophrenia, it affects those, right? Norepinephrine, dopamine, serotonin, right? So when you take Prozac, what it does is it keeps the serotonin out in that synapse longer, and then you feel better. So they say. Okay? But what happens is that when you speak to a person, and you say, you look really nice today, you look lovely today, okay? That changes their brain chemistry. You see what I'm saying? Right? When I say to Shauna, you're the best at what you do, assuming that she thinks that I'm being truthful with her, that changes brain chemistry. That creates a physiological difference in her body. And what I'm saying is that is the definition of a miracle, is that when you change something without doing it. At the same time, if I go, you're not going to wear that today, are you? Really? You're not going to go for that job interview, are you? You really think they're going to hire you? I mean, come on, man, let's be real. That kind of stuff changes brain chemistry. So what you find with bosses, when you get about 3-to-1 positive to negative, there's a power that happens that is transformative, right? So if you take someone like Shauna, how do you go from being 100, what do you got, 300 and something teams? Did y'all know that? There's 300, how many? 350. There's 350 Division I women's golf programs. And when you go to 100 all the way up to 1, and you're floating around in the top 5, how do you do that? Okay? Because if we went to these 350 golf practices today, is it safe to say they'd be pretty much doing kind of the same stuff? Like the equipment that they have, right? The balls that they're hitting. The facilities would be a little bit different because they got a great one now. Okay, the facilities would be a little bit different. But in terms of the drills and what they do, it would look pretty similar, wouldn't it? But what would be different is the intention. Right? Like, why are you doing this? Like you're going to go to work today, and what you do is going to look like what you do. But if I said, but why are you going to work today? Like, why do you do what you do? If you don't have a compelling why, if you say, well, I'm going to work because I need to make some money, man, and I got a family to take care of. Think about that. That's your why. That's going to lead to greatness. That's how you become the best in the world because I got to get paid here. It's not going to work. Because at some point in time, you're going to realize the fact, which is, I have enough money. I got rent covered. And now you still have to give yourself a reason. Right? So what happens is when people give themselves the permission to do things that they've never done before, or pursue being the best in the world at something, it changes the whole experience of the doing. You see what I'm saying? When people are sitting at their desk working, they're not having the same experience. They're having very different experiences. And when people understand that they're good enough and it's going to be okay, those beliefs change the experience of everything that you do. I didn't make it up, okay? I'm not that smart. I can like listen to other people and read books and I can kind of think about it. This is how it works, guys.
So what an opportunity for everybody in the room to apply that, right?
Or not. You don't have to. Because you get to do whatever you want to when you get up and walk out of here. I mean, you've been doing what you want to the whole time you've been sitting here. But I mean, that's the beauty of the whole thing is you get to pick what you think about, what you believe. You get to pick. And those of you who are not picking so well, you get mad when I suggest that you get to pick, right? Again, you don't understand my situation. If you knew how hard it was, you wouldn't suggest that to me. Do you have any idea what it's like to have or be in this situation? Right? That's easy for you to say. No, it's not easy to say. It took me a long time to figure this out and to be able to say it. But the moment that I acknowledge to myself that I can think about and believe what I want to, then it started changing. Did I believe it the first time I heard it? No. I battled it. I was like, come on. I'm not a big pep rally kind of rah-rah guy. I'm not really interested in making you feel better, okay? In fact, I'd rather not make you feel better. I'd much rather kind of say something that troubles you, because that's the energy for change. When people feel good, they don't have a sense of need to do anything different, right? But not make you feel bad because I insulted you, but to make you feel bad because you realize that you have a belief system that's stopping you from doing the next thing. But you know why I want you guys to be great? Because when I see you out there doing that, it gives me permission to do it. You see what I'm saying? That's why I want you to do the wonderful. That's why I want to see Shauna's team perform at a high level, because that encourages me that I can live that way too, right?
Stan, I'll pass that to them. You okay with that?
Yeah, it's, what do you want, like email or what do you want?
Ms. Reed?
Twitter, yeah, so it's just, follow me on Twitter, I'll make you laugh, I promise. Stan Beecham. And then my email is just stan@drstanbeecham.com. Okay?
So let's hear some really great questions.
Yeah. And y'all don't go easy on me. Like, don't give me any layups.
Okay, I have a question.
Like, I want you to like the stuff that I said that you're like, I'm not buying it. I want those questions.
Okay, well, how do you, as a coach, or if you're running a company, to keep the positive when you need to like get feedback that on something they're not doing as well? How do you keep that positive?
Okay, so what I want you to be aware of is, so the question is, she's got a company, so when you're talking to people, and what she's saying is people do mess up and you need to let them know you messed up. So how do you do that in such a way that it's not hurtful and destructive? Like this guy down here with the saw, we're going to have to go down there and somebody's going to. But here's what I would say about that. The goal is not to not ever say, hey, look, this isn't working and you're not doing what you need to do, okay? You just don't want to be that the majority of the conversation, right? So like, when you're giving somebody, you're getting ready to tell them they're stinking it up, you start with like, look, I want you to be here and I want you to be successful, okay? I think you're important in what we're doing. I gotta have you, okay? Like your role and your job is not optional. And like with Shauna, I mean, when you got a kid who maybe is not even gonna play this year, because she's got 8, she only can take 5, what do you say to 6, 7, and 8? You know, part of it is I'm probably gonna need you. I don't know when I'm gonna need you, but you're gonna get a chance, and when you get that chance, you're gonna wanna be ready. You follow me? So so there's a message of what you do is important, and I need you to do it a particular way, and you're doing it this way, and I need you to change it and do it this way, right? So I'm giving you the critique because what you do is important, and I need you to do it really well. You follow me? Now here's what's interesting if you look at the science. So think about these 3 things of encouragement, which is really what positive feedback is: encouragement, criticism, or to be ignored. Okay? So what most people do is they go, well, I don't want to be negative, so when a person's doing a bad job, you just don't say anything to them, you just ignore them, right? Being ignored is the most destructive thing that you can do to another person. You with me? So ignoring them is worse than going, dude, you got to kick it up a lot, right? So what I tend to do is when I see a person does something from a performance standpoint, I ask them this question. You know, they bring it to you, and then you go, Amy, do you feel like this is indicative of your best work? I don't say, do you think you did a pretty good job? I go, would this be representative of your best? And a lot of times they'll say, no, it's not. The other part is if they say yes, if you work with me long enough, you know what I look like at my best, right? So you can say, well, I've seen you at your best, Stan, and I would suggest to you that, no, that's not your best, okay? And I want you to do your best. Now, here's where the why comes in. If I work for you, why do you want me to do my best? Tell me.
Because I want the company to be successful. I want them to be successful.
Say, reverse the order and say it back to me.
Okay.
Why do you want me to do my best?
I want you to be successful.
Yes. Yes.
Right.
Yes. I want you to be successful. If I'm doing my best, does it affect my experience of doing work, my level of engagement, enjoyment, if I'm doing my best? Yes. So I want you to do your best because number one is your reputation's on the line every day. The other thing is if you're pursuing doing your best, you're going to enjoy working more. And I want you to have that experience, okay? It just so happens if you can get, how many people do you have in your company?
14.
Okay. It just so happens if you can get these 14 people to do their best, the company's going to do well. But when the company does well, it allows you to create more opportunities for them, right? Unless you're greedy. You're not greedy, are you?
No.
Okay.
Am I?
Yeah. Right? So if you're a part of something that's the best, it creates more opportunities. You think about golf, for example, okay? What happens to golfers when they play at a high level? You get to play more. Right? You get invited to better tournaments. Your season doesn't end when everyone else's season ends. You get to keep going. So one of the rewards of doing something really well is that you get to do it. But if you don't enjoy doing it, then you're not interested in that. Right? So did I answer your question?
Yes.
Okay. So what did you take away from it?
To start out by asking them, well, giving them positive feedback that you need to be part of, we want you part of the team.
You're important to what we're doing here.
Yeah.
I got to have you.
And or not even maybe let them give their own feedback first. Because you said, is this your best work? So
Yeah.
let them critique themselves,
Yeah.
and likely they'll probably give their own critique.
Yeah. So you've got 14 people. So you don't have a lot of room for people to hang out, right? Shauna's got 8. She doesn't have a lot of room. It's not like football where you got 85 plus another 20 walk-ins. She doesn't have 100 and something. So like if somebody doesn't show up, you don't really notice. When you got an environment of 14 people, when one person isn't getting it done, everybody feels it, right?
Everybody knows. Yeah.
When you got 8 people out practicing, if somebody quits or is having a bad attitude, everybody else knows it. So I need you to get it together because you're affecting all of us. We're all swimming in the same pool. And there's certain things you don't want people to do when they're in the pool.
I think too, just to add to what I've learned as well is that it's really easy to ignore, and then you get mad,
Yeah.
and then you just kind of explode. And I've tried to really work on communicating when someone is, maybe messing up. I had a kid in practice the other day just quit. So I said, hey, come with me. We go in, we have a long discussion, and it ends up, I tell her, and we talk about it, and I explain how this impacts the group, sucks the energy away. We don't want an energy vampire, someone to come in and take it away, and this is why, and this is what we're going to do to make it better. And it's hard to have those conversations, but at the end of the day, it's what's best for the team that really matters. And, I care about each kid. It's hard for me to have to go and criticize or do something like that, but it helps the team so much that it's worth that real uncomfortable initial contact. It makes it so much worth it, and by the end they are so grateful for an experience to learning it better. It's hard though.
I'm imagining you do a lot of listening.
I do.
do that.
You know, when I'm 18 to 22-year-olds, you're coaching, you're teaching, you're helping. They don't have all the tools yet, so you're just trying to create opportunities to give them those resources and help.
The concrete hadn't dried. You can still move it around a little bit. You can still put a stamp on it, you know.
That brings me to another question then.
Sure.
About concrete being dry. So I'm in this little church where we've got 2 elders who have been like authoritarian control for the last 10 years. In this situation, our young people have thrived because the parents really do encourage them, and the authoritarian elders don't control everything, but it's time that they let go of their hold.
Why would they do that though? Why would someone who has a sense of power let it go?
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
What's the answer to that?
I am asking you. We have had, well, let's see if I can make this very brief. I was at a meeting, one of the elders was saying, if you guys don't give more, one of the things that happened is that people have died because you haven't given more, because we can't support these people who have cancer. So I stood up and I said to the elder, you know, I have some issues with you. I was told by the other elder, sit down, sit down. I didn't sit down.
Good, don't sit down.
Because I was paralyzed. And anyway, so I'm in this situation of really trying to have intentional conversations. My son is, and
so here's what you're getting to is that when you're in an environment and someone is speaking something that you don't believe is the truth. You with me? What is your response to that? And you know what most people's response to it is? Especially if it's a person in authority, is what? Nothing. Okay? Then the question becomes is then how do you speak to that?
yes.
Because if you don't speak to it, then you're essentially agreeing with it. Right? And it's difficult, especially when people have authority, because they have this expectation that people agree with them. I mean, I really, like a lot of this stuff like I threw out today, like I'm still kind of, you know, moving it around in my head because I'm in the process of doing some writing. But I really want you guys to like take shots at this, okay? Not because you don't like Stan or you think I'm such and such, but it's like, as you think about this and try to put this together, where do the puzzle pieces not match up? That's what I want to hear from you guys.
So if you always are telling yourself you're good enough, where does that create tension to get
How do you get better?
Yeah.
Well, so the first thing is there's an assumption on your part that I have to create tension to get better, right? Because that's what you said.
Right.
Okay. Now the question is that true?
Well, you're suggesting that's not.
Well, I'm asking you, is there evidence in your universe that if I don't create this tension, right, of telling myself I need to get better, that I won't?
Yeah.
Like, in other words, what I'm saying is do we get better because we have this desire to get better? Because this is what a lot of people believe, okay? What they believe is you gotta want it, you gotta be motivated, you gotta have desire, right? Interesting, Buddha teaches that desire leads to suffering. But we believe that desire leads to more. Okay? What I'm suggesting to you is the fact that you want something, that doesn't change anything because everybody wants it. There's a big difference between when you go from I want it to I expect it. You see the shift? Right? At the beginning of a tournament, if we go around to all the golfers, how many kids would normally play in a tournament? You'd have what, 12 teams? You'd have 60 kids? So let's say Shauna's going to the first tournament. Let's say there's 60 girls, women, getting ready. So if I walk up to each of them and go, would you like to win the tournament? Do you want to win the tournament?
Yes.
Would you like to win the tournament? Yes. Would you like to win the tournament?
Yes.
Everybody'd say yes, right? But what if I ask this question? Who do you think is going to win the tournament? That's the difference between want and expectation. Right? What I'm saying, the fact that I want it, not. So getting back to your question, what will lead me into a path of growth, a more fertile path of growth? Believing that I have everything that I need already, or believing that I don't? You with me? Think about it like a seed, okay? Because you were a seed at one time. Are you aware of that? That we all started as a single cell, right? Then we were 2 cells, then this multiplication thing happens. Can anybody explain to me how that happens? No, but it does. This is the miracle of life, if you will. But we know this is what goes on, right? What's your name?
Brian.
Brian. So if Brian, do you garden or anything or grow vegetables? Well, let's say Brian, this spring Brian's going to plant a garden, okay? And so he goes and buys a packet of seeds, right? Right? And then he puts the seed in the ground, but he wants them to grow well, so he fertilizes it, right? And then he puts it in there, and then he sprays it every day, and he puts it in the area where there's sun, right? Right? But the seed is going to become broccoli, right? Does the seed turn into broccoli because the seed wants to be broccoli? Is there any desire from the seed? Is the seed say, I want to be bigger or be something different than what I am? No, it's a natural process that's built into the seed, right? Into the DNA, right? You see what I'm saying? Like when you were a little kid and you want to be bigger and you grew, did you grow because you wanted to be bigger? Or did you grow because you were designed to do that? Because you're designed to do that, right? So what I'm saying is this process of getting better, if you break it down, it really is about continuing to grow, right? Would you agree? So the question is why do you continue to grow? Because you want to grow, or is your body designed to do that? Like, which is true? Do you grow because you want to grow and get better, or do you grow because your body is designed to naturally do that? So as long as you put yourself in a fertile environment, you'll continue to grow. That's what I believe.
Okay. Being able to access your best more often versus getting better.
Right. But if he takes a perfectly good seed and puts it in crummy soil and doesn't water it, right? And then he goes screaming at the seed, come on, why didn't you grow? So what I'm saying is we're just like, we're living beings just like all other living beings, right? And there's just certain things that we're genetically designed to do by that which does the genetic designing, okay? It is in you. This is why you're good enough. The potential is a genetic, physiological issue that has nothing to do with what you think about yourself or anything else. That's why if you go to something else that's living, like a seed to a plant or a tree, it's easy to see it with that, right? Right? That a little seed becomes a huge tree. But there's no step along the stage where the seed or the sprig wanted to be something different, right? Can you imagine that? Like, it's not wanting to be anything different. It's just being what it is and continuing, because it's designed to continue to grow and develop. And I think that's the way human beings are.
Yeah, but regardless if I believe that I'm going to win the PGA Tour or not.
No, you don't believe that.
I'm not, well, okay. But we're just speaking hypothetically. If I did believe
Well, no, let's talk in real life. So what is it you're actually really trying to do?
I want to be best father that I can be.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
how would you do that?
invest time in my kids.
Invest time in you.
Invest time in
Get your
myself.
shit together, right?
That's right.
Be a whole, complete person. Be a guy who believes that he's good enough and worthy enough of joy, right? Believe that the world is a good, safe place. And then you teach that to your kid. And so here's the deal. If I've given up on me and my dreams, okay, and you're my son and I'm raising you, to what degree can I really encourage you to pursue yours? So the other part is that your child grows up and sees dad doing his thing, right? You with me? Like, my dad really is living the life that he wants to live, versus my dad comes home and spends 30 minutes while he's, getting hammered on the juice about how terrible his life is and how bad his job is, right? If you do that, the kid sees that too. And says, son, it's hard out there, and nobody's going to give you a break, and it's, right? I mean, we can do that too. So the best way to be a good father is by mastering yourself, right? Right? Because what you believe about yourself, you're going to put that onto your kid, as our parents did to us. I mean, it's just the way it works. I mean, water flows downhill. Why does water flow downhill? Gravity. Why is there gravity? I don't know. There just is. It's just true. We pass it along.
Yes, sir. We've got time for about 3 more questions.
How do you stay good enough but not cocky? I mean, the people don't perceive
Because you
good?
understand that you're good enough has nothing to do with you.
Okay.
You didn't make you good enough.
Okay.
The fact that you're this wonderful divine being has nothing to do with you. Do you understand that?
Probably not.
Well, just think about it. Think about that.
Okay.
All right? What I'm saying is you're this wonderful creature that's capable of doing some amazing things.
Okay.
But the fact that you are has nothing to do with you. Just sit with that for a second. It's not about you. The miracles that you can perform are not about you and your ego and how this or that you are.
Okay.
Because you didn't create you. You were created with this potential. You see what I'm saying? That's not about you. That has nothing to do with you. Because everybody else in the room has the same thing.
But he gets to create his thoughts, though.
Yes, but what I'm saying is that the fact that he's good enough, that's a gift. He didn't earn that. He didn't deserve that. You know, the Christians might call it grace. I mean, there's a lot of ways of talking about this. But there's just certain things that have happened upon us. There's the things that you do, and then there's that which happens, right? Your birth, is that something you did, or is that a happening? It's a happening. It happened to you. Just like your death will happen to you, right? Unless you kill yourself, which I don't think you will, right? But your death will happen in the same way that your birth happened. But the fact that you were born and you're going to die has nothing to do with Carlos. That's just how it works, brother. Welcome to the human race. We're going to all have that experience. I didn't put me here. I didn't make me. And I can't even begin to fathom how that happened, but I know I didn't do it.
Okay.
Okay? That's why you're good enough. Because that
You're
which
not talking too much about accessing your best philosophy. Can you talk about that?
no, that's later.
Okay. Excuse me. You got to come back tomorrow for that.
I got a question. So you said at some point through this, as you learn this, you master yourself, right?
Self-mastery is done by what, specifically?
I thought that's what you said.
Mastering thought process. Being aware of what's the story I'm telling
Seems
myself.
like there's different levels of achieving these things.
Oh, yeah.
Throughout your life. So
Yeah.
I'm wondering, have you mastered yourself? Are you at that point?
No.
When do you become?
I'm at the beginning stage. I'm in preschool. Yeah. I might get to first grade.
You're staying curious and thirsty, aren't you?
I am.
Staying a student.
I am. But so when you think about this being consciously aware and paying attention to what you're thinking, the question is what percentage of the time do I do that? Okay. So yesterday when I'm driving to the airport and this woman almost runs over me, I can't say I was real proud of what I did after that. Okay? Okay? We did some sign language back and forth. She gave me some sign language. I gave her some sign language. You know, she yelled some things in her car, I'm sure, and I did the same. And I'm like, really, Stan? That's where you are? That's how far you've evolved? Golly. That's it? And I'm like, yeah, that's pretty much where I'm at. I'm that guy. You know? You say you're number one, and I go, I'm number one too, you know? And so we give each other, I'm the number one sign. I guess that's what that means. I don't know. But when the whole thing's over with, then once I became conscious, I was like, really? Okay. But that's Atlanta traffic. It'll make you crazy. That's my excuse.
Other questions? A couple more.
Well, I am. We're going to talk about the best stuff. Don't worry. You're not going to get cheated.
We'll never get cheated when you're here.
All right. We got room for, we got time for another question.
Robyn, you're a host. Your call.
Got one question right here.
So you had talked about an exercise of writing down your thoughts
Yes.
about yourself.
Beliefs.
Beliefs.
Or thoughts.
And so what if in that process there's a lot of negativity that comes out?
Untruth.
Is it simply that you
What if
change
there,
your mind?
what if there's things that you believe that are not true? Move away from the negative. Here's the deal with the negativity is there's a judgment involved in it, okay? What I want you to look at is it true or not? So give me one of your beliefs about yourself. I believe I am.
I believe I'm a great mom.
Okay. All right. Now, is there evidence for that?
Yes.
Okay. Yes, you're the evidence. All right. Now give me a belief that you have that's at the other side of that you would call a negative one.
Gee, this is kind of harsh.
But everybody else has the same one. You're just going to be the one speaking for the rest of us.
Let's see.
I believe I should be a better mom. Right? Don't most moms think they should be a better mom? Okay, what's the evidence for that? That's all. You write down the belief, okay? Here's the problem. When we realize that we could do something differently, our brain thinks that that's better. No, it's not. It's different. Right? It's kind of like restaurant reviews. Where's the restaurant guy? Did he leave? Right? We could sit here and have this debate about who's got the best restaurant in town. Okay? It would be very subjective, right? Based upon what you like or what I like. And so we get caught up in that. There's some things that are just subjective. A beauty contest. Okay? Here we are, ladies. Okay, which one of you is the prettiest? You see how that, you see the kind of the waste of time in that, the subjectivity of it? And so we get hung up on this. You know, who's the prettiest? Who's got the best restaurant? Who's got the coolest uniforms? And what I'm saying is that's not really about pursuing truth. That's about something else. And we waste a lot of time doing that, okay? If you're a good enough mom, okay, there's evidence for that. And it would be how your children are doing.
So there could be.
But don't try to be the world's greatest mom, because the desire to be super mom means you're going to be all in your kid's business, and that spins backwards. Okay?
Okay, y'all, thank you so much for coming, and I want to thank Tim for hosting, because he is definitely...
I like your shirt. It feels good.
That's why I wear this shirt. Are you kidding?
That's why you do or don't?
I do wear that shirt.
No.
Yeah. I want to thank Tim. He is definitely an investor in people.
He is.
He's such a big part. And
He's an encourager.
He's an encourager, and he wants to see everyone succeed. And by being that way, it just encourages us, which then we can pay that forward. So I want to thank you so much for give a shout out to Miss Priscilla Aguirre, because she takes this intuitive investor in people and actually makes it all happen. I want to thank Shauna Estes Taylor. You're just humble attitude and love for people is really, truly an inspiration. And just the fact that you were open to receive the wisdom that Stan was willing to give you, you know, it's just a testimony to all of us.
How do we support your team?
Yeah.
Tell people that we have an awesome women's golf team. I mean, people don't even realize how good we are.
Come to tournaments.
We actually don't have a lot of tournaments here, but you know, look at our schedule. If you happen to be in that area, we'd love to have fans come out and support us. But it's people don't realize how awesome our women's golf team is, and share the word. I mean, it's really cool. It's a sport that, I mean, of all ages can enjoy and play it, and it's just it's really awesome we have such great support in our athletic department. And, you know, we always hear about the footballs and the basketballs and those guys, but women's golf is the highest ranked team on our campus, and it's really awesome.
Let's all give Stan a big